On today's episode, we have Ryan Gleason here to share his journey of overcoming drug addiction and alcoholism to living a life happy, joyous, and free. I'm Adam Bob Gutton, and this is the Recovered on Purpose show.
The black represents the darkness from which we came. The white represents the light in which we now live. And the red represents the passion it takes to live Recovered on Purpose.
Today's episode is brought to you by Recovered on Purpose. Recovered on Purpose was founded with the vision of raising up an army of recovered addicts to tell their stories in powerful and impactful ways to free others suffering from the bondage of addiction, as well as tell our stories in the school system to deter the future generations from going down the path of addiction. Guys, if you want to be a part of this movement, if that sounds like something that jives with you, go ahead and send a message to this page and tell me a little bit about your story so we can see about getting you on this show or doing a live with me. So excited to meet you guys. All right, so Ryan is a recovered drug addict and alcoholic who has lost multiple family members to the disease. His story of overcoming is one to prove we can break the generational curses of addiction to move into a legacy of freedom. Ryan, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. Man, and I know I was there. We used to sit right next to each other while you were in your early recovery, and basically every single day for a while there. And I actually didn't even know part of this story that I'm excited to share with everyone, because one of the things that we talk about so much in recovery and in the recovery community is the bloodline. Like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is the alcoholism something that we were born with? Is it something we learned? And some of that doesn't even necessarily matter, because a lot of us, like you've done yourself, have to just like take responsibility and move on, right? And you're doing that, and I'm excited to share that with everyone here. So go ahead and tell us kind of what brought you to this point, and what was going on with the family and this disease.
Well, my mother, her father, her oldest sister's children, all have drank themselves, to the point of death. My mother could not leave pills alone or alcohol, and she did it in a short amount of time, because growing up, she didn't really drink. But then, once that she turned, I want to say 50, she just picked up the bottle and never stopped. Wow. But, she had a big drinking problem when she was young. And she literally drank herself to death. By the time she was 62, I couldn't even recognize her. I've never met her biological father. He was dead before I was born. Wow. Her adopted father, who my grandfather was an amazing man. He drank too, but not to the point of death. But I've shared plenty of rounds with him too. But he didn't really start drinking until he was old and ready to go. Right. And then finally, I've got my sister, I've got nieces and nephews, and I find that I've got family that I love. My dad didn't want to talk to me while I was drinking. He didn't talk to me for like 3 years, and eventually I just said, what kind of example do I want to be for my niece and nephew? I was like, they're going to know me as just the drunk, the alcoholic, the drug addict. And of course, when I would go visit them, I would never drink in front of them, which made it, created a lot less time with them too. And, but I was the guy that would go to the party, and wouldn't drink at all because there wasn't enough alcohol. I'd wait till the party was over when I could go home, drop my things off, go to the bar where they had enough alcohol for me.
Right.
I didn't think, I didn't ever think I was going to get away from it. I really didn't. I knew I had a problem, didn't care. It was my life. It's who I was. It's who I'd been for 25 years. And then, one night, I don't know, it was like a spiritual awakening. I just felt like God told me, he's like, now it's time. And I was hammered. I picked up my phone. I told Siri to call the addiction hotline for me, because I was drunk as could be. I got a Home Depot in Dallas. They're not taking new clients, and then finally on the second round, I got to the addiction hotline where they placed me. I'm fortunate. I have a great job with UPS. I have great insurance. I was placed in a very nice facility by comparison, like Tempur-Pedic beds, big screen TVs, gourmet meals, things like that. In Miami, far away from home. So very hard to, say, hey, I can't do this. I want to go. I ended up having to go twice because the first time, I thought, well, maybe when I got back, I could drink like normal people. It was only a month and a half before I was back in Miami and realizing, that wasn't the case. I cannot drink.
Yeah.
That's that. And then that's when I had that gift of desperation. I got a sponsor before I went the second time. I got a sponsor, I talked to him. I said, hey, when I get back, he's like, you got to do everything I tell you to do, man. And he was just like, I went hard on my program. I lived it. I didn't go back to work until I had been back and had like 60 days of sobriety and was literally spending all day, 8 hours a day on my step work. It took me about a year to get through all 12 steps. And even my sponsor is like, man, he was like, you put in a lot of work, but it paid off. I had to, I still will pick up that book and start reading. I still will go through I will thumb through my step work. He gave me a packet like that thick of just homework to do on each step, outlining so many different things and me writing out, my part and everything, realizing that, I'm actually to blame for a lot of the things when I blamed everybody else. When it came to making amends, dude, scary, but man, how gratifying it is to get out there and say, hey, man, I wasn't ever in my right mind. That was me, but apparently there was a better version of me, and it just took till now to find it.
Right.
And then, and I love, helping others that are near recovery, getting out there. I leave my phone on for so many people. My friends reach out all the time. They think they're ready. They're not, but they think they are. And, and I just make sure, I say, hey, you don't ever give up. My phone's always on. If it's not your time, it's not your time. It's never too late. I'm living proof that it's never too late. You can always try again. And, just keep trying, and, one day you'll succeed, and you'll find, you finally realize that I'm the best version of myself I have never been before.
Amen. So what did it look like before you went to those treatment centers, right? I know that you had this spiritual awakening, and that's what's so amazing about us. Basically, almost every single story I ever hear of recovery is someone saying like it was time and God, right? Yeah. Like something happened where a higher power showed up in a way. And guys, if you're out there and you're struggling, you can actually make this experience happen as well. Like sometimes he'll speak to you through someone telling their story and telling you, I had this spiritual awakening, this spiritual experience at a time where, I just heard God. And so a lot of times he'll speak to you through someone else's story. And then you can just reach out to him and say, God, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Help me. Right. And you were at a point where you were going to your family's house, and then you were leaving, and you were making sure that there was enough alcohol there for you. So what was going on internally at that point that made it so that you felt like you needed to find recovery? What was it? Because you knew you had a problem, but you didn't really care. Right? What happened in that time that made you start caring, or what was it like at that time?
Like you said, it's God. I don't know. I like I said, I knew I had a problem. I didn't care. It just all of a sudden in my brain, I'm like, I guess they call it being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Right. I was just like, I finally just somehow clicked in my brain, like, I don't have to be a statistic in my family, literally in just an instant. And and I know my sister was begging me to get sober for so long, but she's always supported me and always had my back no matter what. And I just finally, it just happened, and then that day that I made that call at 2 a.m., by 6 p.m. that night, I was in Miami.
Wow.
That those hotlines work fast.
Yeah.
They work quick. They don't want to give you much time to change your mind, because that's easy. The second time I canceled 4 flights and rescheduling because it's different when you know what you're going into a treatment center, when you're uprooting your entire life and you're giving up all your civil liberties, and you're giving up your cell phone to go live with a bunch of people that you don't know. But, and also I can tell you that's not that bad, because those people in treatment, we all needed each other.
Yeah.
They eventually becomes like one big family. And it's not that bad of a thing to do.
Yeah. So what was your experience like in those treatment centers? What kind of work were you doing in there?
Everything all day, very structured, very long days. They get us up at 6:30 in the morning, and they don't give us any time to do a whole lot. We get up at 6:30 in the morning, breakfast, you've got to see the nurses, take medication, blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, eat. And then they take us to a college where we were there for, where they owned like a whole separate wing of this condo or this college, and like different classrooms. And we were in different groups, for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, all day. And then we'd get back home, and then, they would have, H&H or whatever. And, when those, they'd have the AA meetings, people come in and they would hold.
H&I, hospitals.
Yeah, H&I. Yeah. Yeah. And then, we'd have that at the end of the day, and then we'd take our medication. By then we're tired, rinse and repeat. It's definitely, it's eye-opening, I mean, it works.
Yeah. So not to go too deep into any medical information or anything, but this is just a question I have. What kind of, do they just automatically assume that there's a dual diagnosis, or is it something that you come in knowing? Do they have a psychiatrist, or is it like an abuse or something that they're using?
No, they have a psychiatrist on hand. Yeah. He was actually from Germany. He was really good. You saw him, and you talked with him for about an hour, and then he would help with the diagnosis. And for the most part, he would explain the medication, and he kind of let us, pick what medication, let us be in charge of our medication plan. He would explain it to us, about how this could help with this and this, this, and this. And he says, whatever you want. And then, you'd see him again, probably once every 2 weeks, and he, you could up your medication or lower it, and he was really good, really smart, and that medication really does help, especially with anxiety. Cause I mean, you're far away from home, it's just a constant struggle. So that's the biggest thing I think everybody has to deal with there is anxiety and depression, So I think they automatically off the bat, they're prepared to, provide you medication for those two things specifically. They didn't use antabuse, but they did use naltrexone for like an anti-craving. And then, when you're in detox, for alcohol, they used Valium, diazepam, just small doses to regiment for the first 5 days to help you with the shaking and the, relaxation and things like that. Cause the detox there is, that's the biggest part of it, before you go into treatment, is that detox. You're there 7 to 10 days. And, that's different. That's like, you kind of feel like, you've got a lot of free time in detox. But once you get over to treatment, you don't have a lot of free time. They keep you pretty busy. But also on Saturdays, they would take us out to like museums and movies and extracurricular activities. We went to the Everglades, saw the crocodiles.
Yeah. So it's basically like showing you that there's a life in recovery, showing you that there's positive things to do in recovery. Are you still in contact with people that you recovered with there?
Close to 100 of them.
Close to 100 of them?
Absolutely.
Wow. And how many of them are still in recovery from that time?
I want to say a good 80% of them.
Wow.
I've lost quite a few.
Wow. I mean, 80% is
it's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah. They have a pretty good, they actually have a pretty good recovery rate there, which is why it was one highly recommended for me.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm in touch with a lot of them, and it's been sad. Going out of it that not everybody's going to win the battle.
Right.
That's just how it is. And, so I've lost a few good friends, family.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, right after the break, we're going to talk about possibly some of those friends that are lost, but what it takes to be one of the ones that makes it, guys. So we'll be here right after the break. Love you guys. All right, guys, today's episode is brought to you by Recovered on Purpose. If you don't have a copy of my book, From Chains to Saved, One Man's Journey Through the Spiritual Realm of Addiction, go ahead and go over to recoveredonpurpose.com, subscribe at the bottom, and I'll send you a free copy of the digital and audio version. And I don't even know how to use an email list or anything yet, so don't worry about getting a whole bunch of emails from me. I literally just want to give you my story. And guys, if you want a paperback version personally signed by me, I will send 2 of these today to 2 of you viewers out there. So comment book and the number 1 or 2 if you do not have a copy yet, and I will pick 2 of you to send one totally free to. Love you guys, and I'll see you right after the break. All right, everyone, welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about Ryan's experience with going to treatment out in Miami. And some of us get blessed with being able to go to treatment like that. And I didn't go to treatment personally, but for some reason I have been able to get recovered and get sober and stay sober for an extended amount of time now. So Ryan, what you said that you've lost a lot of people, right, in your recovery, and Can you explain like what it's been like, losing them, but what you think the difference is maybe between the ones that make it and the ones that don't?
You know it's gonna happen. It's sad when you lose somebody, but then you're grateful. You're immediately grateful that I'm grateful that I'm still sober. I'm still fighting the good fight. And you don't really think about it, when you're there. Yeah. You don't know, like, you're going to be this, you guys are going to be with this family forever. Everybody's going to make it. But unfortunately, you get out and, you don't let it get you down. We still talk amongst each other, when we lose somebody, we'll reminisce on, a lot of the positive things about them. And they'll be missed but never forgotten. Everybody leaves their mark. Every individual is different.
Right.
So,
and someone in my early recovery told me that if you plan on having permanent recovery, if you plan on having a long-term recovery, to buy a suit, because you got to go to a lot of funerals. And in my recovery, I have and this is just, we're talking about this because people out there, and I know if you're watching this, guys, I'm sure that you've lost people in recovery. You've lost people while you've been out in addiction and everything. It's just kind of what goes along with this. And like Ryan was saying, we got to be grateful that we're here, and we have to continue doing whatever it is that we've been doing to this point, and continue to progress in order to not be one of the statistics, right? Because that's what we're talking about also. Because Ryan, are you like the first one in your family to recover from this thing?
Yes.
Wow. So what does that look like?
Well, on my side, I don't really know. But to me, it looks like a freaking miracle. Mm. But like anybody in my family, that could have learned something from this is already dead. Has already passed away, but now I've got my nieces and my nephews, and they'll never ever see that side of me. Unfortunately, they were young enough. They know about me. They know, my history, what happened. They know I'm, sober now and in recovery. So they're going to lead a life where my sister and I are very anti-drugs and alcohol. My sister does not drink. She does not do drugs. She's very anti and against it. So, and their father doesn't drink, but their father has a living girlfriend who does drink and lies about it. So they're kind of learning off that curve too. They're kind of seeing firsthand how, it's just not who they want to be. They don't want to be they don't want anything. They don't want to be like that.
Right.
So they're going to grow up, hopefully, just not touching this stuff, because it does run in our family. You pick it up, you love it. You're not going to put it back down.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know if I would be here today if I had not made that decision, and I'm hoping that, that they don't ever do it. But if they do, they need to know that there's a good chance that they're not going to be able to drink like normal people.
Right. Right.
It's going to become a thing.
Yeah.
I was drinking every day since the age of 16 years old, started drinking at 14, and I was a functioning alcoholic. I mean, I went to work every day. I did fine. And then I left work and I'd go to happy hour. We could have had me and my crew could have had our own episode of Cheers. Dude, we were there at the bar every day. Same crew. We closed down so many bars. I used to be able to walk across the street to the bar. Now we closed so many of the bars here in Capitol Hill. Now we're walking all the way to Lodo, but we all go to the same bar. We all sit at the same side. We all meet up at this every day. Same people. It becomes a way of life.
Right.
Right. And they're all some of my biggest supporters. They still go to the bar every day. My roommate does. I pick him up constantly, but they can drink like normal people.
Right.
Me, I can't. I got to drink until I've had enough. I train at altitude. I have a high tolerance.
Yeah. And what I love, something that you said was that it's a way of life. And it was a way of life to walk across the street to the bar. It was a way of life to go down to Lodo to the bar. It was a way of life to basically drink every single day. And what I love about recovery is we actually talk about this being a way of life now, right? So in the last, almost 3 years now, you're coming up on 3 years. What does it look like to live as a way of life in recovery?
It, it looks different. And Adam, man, we have demons still. We have to fight these demons every day. We have to do whatever it takes, to not say F it and go to a bar where nobody knows our name and we can just, feel better about, doing something stupid, because we're having a bad day, So knowing that I fight those demons, knowing that I do whatever it takes to remain, sober, it's gratifying to knowing that my program was strong enough to have it in me to fight those demons.
Yeah.
To get through, and I'm grateful that I had a sponsor that was really hard on me, to really, really present me with, the type of program is what it takes. Just, giving me the tools to what it takes, to just stay sober no matter what.
Yeah.
Not every day is peachy.
Amen.
So I mean, I'm grateful I have those tools. I'm grateful to be here today. I know I'm not promised tomorrow, but I can tell you I'm not going to drink today.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does it look like? I know that you have been through all 12 steps. What does it look like to sponsor other guys? How does it feel to be able to, because obviously in our addiction and in our alcoholism, in the active part of it, a lot of times we weren't able to be much service to very many people, right? So what does it look like in recovery to be able to be there for other people?
What an amazing feeling, just to look at somebody and say, hey, I can show you the way. I can lead you out of this. If you just do what I say, I know how to help. It feels great because I know how to help people.
Right.
And I can, and I love to help people. It's one thing, we take so much pride in our sobriety. We can have conversations with anybody for hours about
Right.
You know, I love sharing my story. You know, I love looking at, these young guys who, they have problems and they want help. And I say, and it's never too late. Just look at me. I promise you, if you just listen to me and do what I say, we can get through this together. And just being able to do that and knowing how to do it, I mean, it's an amazing feeling. From the outside looking in, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
My sponsor was, I learned from him. Other people are going to learn from me.
Right. What I love about basically the way that this program works, obviously, is when we have somebody that we're sponsoring, and this is my belief, is that we're head to head. Like we are. I'm not necessarily teacher. I'm not necessarily mentor, but like in my experience, when I'm sponsoring someone else, I'm literally getting more out of it than they are, oftentimes.
Which is the truth.
Yeah, and as I'm talking to them, and as I'm like sharing my wisdom with them, oftentimes, almost all the time, I'm speaking to myself. Like as I'm talking to them, I'm speaking to me in their shoes. And oftentimes, by me working with someone else and talking to them about recovery, about how you connect with God, and about how you serve others, a lot of times I'm giving advice to them that I need to hear, and then I'm able to go the next day and follow my own darn advice, right?
Exactly. Because carrying this message is, also part of our program. It's to help us.
Right.
And it's absolutely, when I'm talking to them, I'm listening to myself too. That's why I think I love helping others people so much, because it does. It feeds my soul. Yeah.
Amen. So what does it look like now to live? You describe your life now as living happy, joyous, and free, right? What does it look like? Why do you describe it as that in comparison to what it used to be?
Oh, just because, like I told you, my way of life, get up, go to work, go to the bar, go home, rinse, repeat every day for a year. After now, I can do so many other things. Like, I'll go to the firing range, buy a gun. I loved shooting as a kid. I love to go shoot things. Yeah. I never would have done that when I was drinking. I never would have gone, go meet like family, right? Go meet like, go to family. I would, find ways to like not go see my family at all.
Right.
Because I couldn't drink, I wasn't interested in doing anything, other than just drinking.
Yeah.
That's when I woke up in the morning, that was my main goal all day, get through work so I can get to the freaking bar. So it's just being sober, so I can do this, I can do that. The sky's the limit. I'm coming up with new hobbies, like, puzzles and things like this, adult coloring books with gel pens, just all kinds of things that are really just freeing for the mind.
Yeah.
That I would never do because drinking, first you're busy drinking and then you're too drunk to do anything.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, I've wasted so much time doing it. So that's why I say, being free, because that's why I say happy, joyous, and free, because that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I was chained to a life that I am no longer, chained to.
Amen.
So, and it's just, I filed bankruptcy, got my financial situation taken care of. Never would have done that if I was still drinking and doing drugs, because you just don't care.
Right.
Taking care of my medical issues, got all my teeth fixed, just things like that, that I never would have done.
Yeah, just being able to like take care of yourself in a way that you were never able to do. And I love that you describe it as being chained also, because my book is actually literally called From Chains to Saved. Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for coming to the Recovered on Purpose show, hearing Ryan's story. Guys, obviously if you've listened to this show and you've listened to his story, the whole point is that you can recover also, and you can live a life happy, joyous, and free. Find the hobbies you want to do, live the life of purpose and passion that you want to live, And guys, we love you so much. Ryan, thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Awesome. And we'll see you guys next week. Love you.
The black represents the darkness from which we came. The white represents the light in which we now live. And the red represents the passion it takes to live recovered on purpose.